Growing up, film was always about the John Waynes or Steven Spielbergs or Pulp Fictions of the world. I did enjoy this male world of film, but it never felt like it was made for me. It wasn't until I saw Anna Biller's The Love Witch that I felt included in cinema. I recognized story and styles and themes that were made with people like me in mind. I would go so far as to say that The Love Witch was the first film to make me want to make films myself. The dream logic of the story, the kooky presentational style of acting, the way it questions ideas of love, sex, gender, womanhood and femininity. All this is appealing in itself, but what's so intoxicating about The Love Witch is the way it looks. The writer, director, producer, editor, composer, and production designer of The Love Witch, Anna Biller, meticulously crafted its aesthetic, influenced by Alfred Hitchcock, Radley Metzger, and Jacques Demy, old Hollywood musicals, as well as tarot, the occult, and witchy vibes. Biller spent a year and a half hand-making almost all of the costumes. The Renaissance costumes alone, including the headdresses, codpieces, and the capes, took about a year to complete. She made them in the Italian Renaissance style because they had a similar look to the costumes in the Rider-Waite tarot deck, and so that they could fit a variety of sizes. She made her own patterns for the Renaissance fair based on old books with old patterns in them. The costumes that Elaine and Griff wear for the wedding are more fairy tale-like than Renaissance, pulled from a different era of fashion to emphasize the romance of the moment. When she couldn't find a pentagram rug to match her vision, Biller spent 6 months making this one, sewing one loop at a time in the evenings while she watched old Hollywood movies. She handmade many of Elaine's dresses too, using 70s witchy Elvira type patterns or retro 60s patterns, sourcing some vintage gun sacks dresses for their unusual fabrics and colours. She chose colours which felt occulty for Elaine's clothes to give her a witchy vibe, and used vintage palettes for the various robes she wears. The colours of her clothes all have narrative significance. In an interview with Bright Lights Film, Biller said, "Elaine goes from red for danger to pink for female fantasy, to black with a rainbow lining to signal inner danger, to yellow for aggression, to purple for magic, to multicoloured for deception, to white for bridal, then back to red for transgression, and finally back to black for death." Her red dress during her confrontation with Griff towards the end was supposed to portray Elaine's power in that moment, and was inspired by Gone with the Wind's Scarlett O'Hara's dress that she wears to the party after she gets caught kissing Ashley. Elaine's apartment was designed based on the colours in the Thoth tarot deck, and adorned with paintings that Biller thought a witch might paint, some of which she made herself and some she commissioned. She wanted to combine Victorian and hippie styles when she was directing the apartment to suit Elaine's personality and taste. According to Biller, Elaine is someone who enjoys fantasies, and so of course she would live in a fantasy witch apartment, find a fantasy Renaissance fair, and indulge in the perfect princess fantasy. That brings us to the beautiful pink tea rooms. Biller said she wanted this room to emanate a suffocating feminine energy, as if they were inside of a womb. Cinematographer David Mullen used pink backlighting to really bring out the colour of all the pink dresses, hats, draping, tablecloths, chairs and carpeting. Biller wanted to highlight the discussion of the female fantasy between two women by filling the room with overwhelming femininity. Mullen used 35mm film and hard lighting, an old-fashioned 1950s technique, to achieve the technicolor look of the film. Biller especially wanted to reference the looks of colour Hitchcock films like Marin or The Birds, because they too depicted a woman arriving in a new town. In order to reinforce the colours that Biller had so carefully chosen, Mullen would use coloured lighting in the background, but not on the actors' faces, in keeping with classic aesthetics. He used a kaleidoscope lens to create this scene and a plastic diffraction filter for the rainbow effect. He also created a red vignette by taping red party gel to the matte box. The Love Witch is a fever dream of decadent witchiness and dreamy technicolor realness. The Love Witch is a real treat to watch, and Anna Biller is a powerhouse. I can't wait to see what she does next.